I just launched my new general purpose barbecue rub and it's available to buy on Amazon, but is it the best? To find out, I'm gonna submit it to the 2025 American Royal Rub Competition to compete against 300 other rubs, but only one will be crowned best rub on the planet. In this video, I'm gonna talk about how this rub could be the best rub on the planet, what's in it, how I developed it, and why there's a beaver riding a motorcycle on the front of the label. So let's get smoking and let's go. First of all, apologies for the backdrop. I'm renovating my studio right now, so I'm in a bit of a transition phase. So I'll cut to the chase. I developed this rub for when I was competing in the Memphis in May World Championship barbecue competition. And because I'm a crazy barbecue nerd, I went into way too much detail developing this. First, I started with a concept. I wanted something that was super balanced and could go on anything from ribs, pork, chicken, even brisket, even popcorn. So to go on that many different things, it had to have a perfect balance of sweet and salty and umami, some acidity and other flavors. So that is really what I was aiming for with this rub, ultimate balance. Second, I took a look at the American Royal Rub Competition results and I bought the top 10 rubs for that year. Then I tasted them all to get inspiration for things I liked and I didn't like. For example, I found that the brown sugar and honey flavor profiles were pretty common amongst all the rubs, and I really liked that, so I incorporated that into my own rub. And lots of rubs on the market have things like paprika for color and MSG for umami flavor, and they have smoke flavor just for that extra punch of smoke, and I really like that. Then I got really crazy and I ran all of the rubs through a bunch of sieve shakers. I have about 10 or 15 of these with different mesh sizes, and they separate the particulates of the rub once you shake them for probably about an hour to separate everything. And then when you get all of the different mesh sizes, usually that separates out the individual ingredients, but some ingredients are the same mesh size. So for example, I would take a sampling of the mesh sizes and be like, oh, okay, that's definitely salt. This is kosher salt. I can identify the ingredient easily, but some are more mixed together and I have to make a guess about, oh, that's maybe like 50% paprika and 50% onion powder, for example. But once I had all of that data and the different ingredients and the different ratios that were being used in a lot of these rubs, I put that all into a spreadsheet and kind of compared my rub against those to see what the ratios looked like. And to be honest, I'd like to say that I used data and science to create the best rub out of all of those other top rubs, but that wasn't really the case. In truth, it was more subjective. The one thing that I really did take away is I really liked a rub called BBQ Sweet Garlic Rub, and I liked how it punched really heavy on the garlic, so I pumped up the level of garlic in my rub, and that was really the missing link for me that really punched up the flavor a lot. So thank you, BBQ, for the inspiration. Another rub that I really liked and I took inspiration from was Southern Dutch Barbecue, their lineup of rubs. Amazing rubs, I really like them. And one of their rubs in particular has Szechuan flavor powder in it that really gives the rub a nice aroma. And I wanted to copy that so bad, but it's so unique to them that I thought it would be unfair. I'll just leave it to them. Their rub is great. I'll leave a link to it in the description section below if you guys want to check it out. Highly recommended. Finally, I sent the formula to my co-packer and he had some suggestions. The biggest suggestion he had was swapping out the brown sugar for brownulated sugar. Brownulated sugar is brown sugar that's been dehydrated so that it's more dry, it flows more evenly, it doesn't clump, and it has better mouthfeel. You'll be able to identify brownulated sugar in any rub you try because it'll have a more grainy, sugary texture. You'll be able to roll those sugar granules over your tongue and they'll slowly dissolve, but they're kind of dry. That's brownulated sugar and it creates this awesome mouthfeel. It kind of coats the meat more evenly, it doesn't clump up as much, and it's really good. I think it is like a big secret in the rub world, and it's not easy to buy, but if you can get your hands on some, definitely experiment with it at home because it is a barbecue rub secret for sure. So that's how I made it, but what's up with the label? Well, when I was competing at Memphis in May, I didn't have a label or a name for the rub I was using on my ribs, so I asked my teammates for ideas, and Scott and Jen had this saying where when they'd go somewhere, instead of saying, let's go, they'd say, let's go. And Gow happens to be my last name. So they suggested, hey, you should call your rub Let's Gow. And then Andrew said, hey, let's put a beaver on the label because you're Canadian. So we put that all into ChatGPT and it came out with this crazy label that said "Let's Go," and it had a beaver driving a motorcycle. So I thought that was awesome, and we went with it. Okay, lastly, what is in it and why did I make the decisions about all of the different flavors and ratios? Well, salt, sugar, and honey are the main ingredients. It's a ratio of around 1 part total salts to 1.5 parts total sugars, which I found to be the most balanced ratio out of all of the different tests that I did. So I took all my salts, which include large grain flake salt, table salt, and fine dendritic salt, and then all of my sugars, which is white sugar, granulated sugar, and honey, and that's how I got my master ratio of 1 to 1.5. There's a lot of different mesh sizes in this with the sugar and salt because you want a small mesh size of salt, for example, to dissolve instantly into the meat and give you that nice coating and sheen and allow all of the spices to tack up onto the top of the meat and allow the salt to start penetrating and brining the meat. But you also want some larger grains of salt to hold up longer throughout the cook. Ideally, you get some of those larger grains in your mouth at the end, so you get some of that dissolved salt plus some of the larger granules of salt. Same deal with sugar, and kind of the same deal with pepper as well, and that's the reason I have different granule sizes of pepper. You want some smaller mesh sizes and larger mesh sizes. The next major flavor profile is garlic. I find that increasing the garlic ratio just really punches up and amps up the flavor and makes it more of a quintessential barbecue flavor, so I really went heavy on the garlic in this, but with all the other flavors, it's really balanced really well. And then there's MSG for some umami. It kind of gives the rub a bit of a Doritos type flavor, I guess. But I also added I plus G, which is basically an MSG flavor enhancer. So it really tickles the side of the tongue, adds a lot of umami flavor, and it makes it a lot more tasty. I also added hickory smoke powder, which a lot of people say is cheating. You should get the smoke from the smoker, but I find that having just a little bit of smoke powder in the rub just adds a little bit of background smoke flavor. It makes the rub taste more like barbecue chips, which, I don't know, it sounds kind of bad, but I like the flavor of barbecue chips, and it just gives the rub a little bit more of a barbecue type flavor, and a lot of rubs are doing that these days. I also added sumac, which is a pretty unique ingredient. You don't see it in many rubs, but I find it helps darken up the bark a lot, and it adds a little bit of acidity and tang. And then there's paprika and paprika oleo resin in the rub just to add some color, and there's some other ingredients as well just for some background flavors and balance. My new general purpose barbecue rub is available on Amazon right now. You can click the link in the description section below to try it out and let me know what you think of it in the comments. Is it going to be in the running for the best rub on the planet in the American Royal Rub competition? You let me know your opinion. Unfortunately, I don't have it for sale in Canada right now, but that is something that I'm working on. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and until next time, happy smoking. And let's go. I gotta work on that. Let's go. Let's go.